I've literally got an episode all taped, and I cannot find the export. And literally, John said last week, "Who's gonna export this for you?" I don't know how to fucking export this thing. God damn it! I'm gonna call John.
Limitless Wrestling fans, this is the Limitless Wrestling Podcast. I'm John Alba. Randy, you couldn't live with me, but you couldn't survive without me.
Yeah, you're somehow still maintaining a position here in Limitless Wrestling.
You couldn't survive without me.
I couldn't export the file without you, John.
So you're using me is what you're saying.
No. We have fun here.
I had so many people come up to me in the last week and say, "We don't really care that you're gone from Limitless, but you're still doing the podcast?"
That's harsh.
Hey, you know what? Bradford the Barber came up to me and said that to me just yesterday from when we're recording this.
Oh my gosh.
He said, "So you're still like doing the podcast at least?" So that's not my call to make. Clearly,
you got to listen to the podcast.
Clearly, you got to listen to the podcast and find out. See, Randy, the Emmy award-winning John Alba, he's dead. He's been killed. Gone to the grave of gimmicks beyond. And now it's just me. I don't even know who that
just
guy
John.
was. I don't know who that guy was.
I like Just John.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's
Just John's fun.
Yeah. This is it, man. The plan is we're gonna keep doing this podcast, and the Emmy award-winning John Alba is no more. Not just in Limitless Wrestling, Randy. I found peace, and I killed that son of a gun.
I'm very happy that you did find peace.
Stabbed a knife through his heart. You know, I realized that my well-being is significantly better off without him. I don't end up in body bags. I don't end up smushed in a corner. I don't end up pie-faced and shoved to the mat.
That is true.
I can survive.
I feel like that's the only things that you can find in wrestling, though. So it was a unique experience, nonetheless.
Mm. And you never know. El Albero may come back one day at Limitless Wrestling.
Oh. Yeah, you never know. You can never say never.
You never say never in wrestling. But for now, the Emmy award-winning John Alba is most certainly dead. So all you out there can take all the pride in that you want. It was a good run in Limitless. It was a good run.
It was not successful, but it was good.
Successful by whose account?
I don't know. Anyone looking at the wins and losses, or anyone looking at your well-being from point A to point B?
Well, you know what? Maybe wrestling's about more than wins and losses, okay? Maybe it's about putting smiles on people's faces. And maybe it's about... who am I kidding? It's all about making money. That's what it's ultimately about, but whatever. I did that too.
No, it's about those experiences, man. It's about making the crowd feel something. That's why we all do it. We all do it for these these reactions, and to let people escape the world for a couple hours and enjoy professional wrestling. So I'm glad we got to do it together.
Absolutely. Me too. We'll talk more about the not even Emmy award-winning performance, the Academy award-winning performance from that match later on, but we'll get to that.
Rub.
This is the post-Limitless Wrestling Vacationland Cup edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast after a week off. Just had to get things together. Things were a little busy. You had a busy week this past week, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to take a week to regroup, man. That was that show took a lot out of me.
Yeah, how drained are you after a show like that?
Pretty drained. It's pretty I love after a show because you can sit there and talk it over and reflect on everything, and eat some Otto's pizza, and but yeah, it is pretty draining. And I stayed at Danger Kid's house. We all had to get up early the next day and bring the chairs back, and then they went on to New York to another booking, and I got to go home luckily. But It's I mean, it takes it's a nice couple days to regroup after him. It's a lot that goes into it, so it's nice to really stress free and just relieving afterwards.
Well, there was not a whole lot that was stress free about that show. I know that firsthand.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
we'll get into that in a little bit, but I know that you're pushing the Pirate Festival coming up. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I am stoked. The Pirate Festival is this Saturday in Hollis, Maine. It's at the Hollis Sports Complex. I think we're doing it right outside on the baseball field. So be looking for us out there. The Pirate Fest, it's inside, it's outside, it's everywhere. The gates open at 9 a.m. It is completely 100% free. It is a family-friendly festival and a family-friendly limitless show. So you can bring the kids, bring anyone that you know who may want to see some professional wrestling. And may want to see some pirates. I know there's some exhibits going on throughout the day. There's a lot of cool vendors and a lot of food and drinks available there as well. So you can make a day out of it. And I believe that they are closing out the night with fireworks. So you want to stick around for that. We're going to be at 5 p.m. that day, 5 p.m. bell time. We're going until about 8 p.m. You can go onto the Limitless Wrestling Facebook, find the event page. We'll be posting all the matches there. But as of now, as you may have seen or may not even know, the main event will be Danger Kid and Aiden Agro colliding with the team of Black Death, which is Kevin Blackwood and Daniel Garcia. Alexander Lee goes one-on-one with the masshole Mike McCarthy. Delmy XO will be going one-on-one with Chris Statlander, plus much more. So, again, all the information on the event page on Facebook, or you can look up hollispiratefest.com to find more info.
Who is your favorite pirate of all time?
Paul Burchill, dude. No
No
contest.
contest. Paul
No
Burchill.
contest, dude.
I'd have to go with Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball.
That's actually a real good one.
Yeah, your best player thinks he's a pirate.
Yeah.
We have a pirate on our
Thanks,
team?
man. He is.
Yeah, no, Paul Burchill's a good pirate, but I gotta go with Steve the Pirate. It should be a good show, no doubt about that. Worth checking out. And like you said, family friendly too. So bring the kids.
Yeah, family friendly and free. How many times do we get to offer a free show?
Not many. Free and wrestling don't often go hand in hand together, so that's
no, absolutely
that's certainly one show that won't be free, but will certainly be worth your time. That's the upcoming Let's Wrestle show, and we got a couple matches announced for that.
Yeah, I'm stoked for that one as well. Again, information on limitlesswrestling.com. That's where the tickets are available. Or you can go to Let's Wrestle on Facebook, the event page. Yeah, some great matches announced for this one. One I'm particularly excited for. The retrosexual Anthony Green goes one-on-one with Mike Montero. And then the main event will be Danger Kid and Aiden Agro colliding with Todd Harris and Calvin Strange, guy you know pretty well. Also on the show, Masshole Mike McCarthy, Davian, Brett Domino, Tyler Nitro, and many more.
Eric
so
Johnson,
definitely check
too,
that
just
one out.
announced for it, too, right?
What's that?
Eric Johnson just announced for it, too, right?
Yeah, just announced tonight. So there's a ton of more announcements coming. I don't even think we're halfway through the lineup. So definitely be looking around this week, and tickets are available online, limitlesswrestling.com. Go under the Let's Wrestle banner.
Let me ask you this.
You can find them there.
What's your experience been like working with Eric Johnson here? Because Eric Johnson's a name that a lot of main wrestling fans know. Started IWE, pretty much gave you your first shot ring announcing and everything, and now you're booking him on shows. So I know it's been up and down over the years, but what is that relationship like now?
Yeah, so Eric Johnson, for anyone who doesn't recognize that name, formerly known as Jivin' Jimmy or Jivin' Jimmy Capone, he actually gave me my start in professional wrestling. I talked
Me too,
to him
for
about
the record.
training. What's that?
Me too, for the record.
Yeah. I had asked him originally about training because I didn't really know how else to get into the business. And from then, I, like 3 months later, started ring announcing, and then really never looked back from there of trying to be, a ring announcer wherever. But I got to do a lot of cool things with his company at the time, the IWE. A lot of things that, someone of my age and experience at that point wouldn't normally get to do. So I got to see a lot of things. So it is it's very full circle that now he's appearing on the Let's Wrestle shows. We're working together now, where in the past we hadn't had the best relationship because we're two wrestling companies running in relatively close to the same area. So there's always that weird friction, unfortunately. But everything was squashed and resolved, and it's pretty cool to have him on those shows. And I think a lot of the local fans are very excited to see him on a new platform with new opponents and all that.
No doubt about that. That show's coming up soon, and should be a lot of good opportunities. I know my buddy who's been doing some training with you guys was asking me if there's going to be any training opportunities available. Can you give any information on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually a seminar with the retrosexual Anthony Green. So if you are interested, this is for all skill levels as well. So if you're interested in becoming a professional wrestler, referee, and you're in the Central Maine area, you can email Randy Carver at yahoo.com, or you can message us right on the Limitless Wrestling Facebook. We'll have all the information for that for you on there.
And I think it's worth giving a shout to the retrosexual becoming the chaotic New England champion.
Yeah, big wins for him. Big wins for him this
Mm-hmm.
weekend. So that was a big one.
Good way to bounce back after his limitless
Absolutely, defeating
performance.
Josh Briggs too, of all people.
Mm. Okay, so there was something funny in the air July 27th. It's something strange. And I could tell right from the start that it was going to be an interesting night at the Vacationland Cup.
Absolutely.
And that might have just been the stench of some of the people there, but it also, sorry, wait.
Oh wow! Come on.
That was the guy. I got to suppress him. Sorry. Hold on.
I know.
Gotta suppress him, get him out. Bad. No. Okay. All right, that jerk's gone. Anyway, it was there was something funny in the air, and it started for me. I know when I got there after a 2.5 hour drive from Bangor, which has never taken me that long to get down there, and I got there and nothing had been put together yet. The ring had literally just gotten there. And
Yeah.
I got there, and you'd say, "Oh, well, that's normal." Not at 5:15 p.m. when the show starts at 7:30. That is not normal.
Nope.
And that was my first introduction to this might be a crazy day. But from what I gather, it started a lot earlier than that. So take us through it.
Yeah. So usually day of shows, I try to wake up pretty early as it is because I'm constantly waiting for something to go wrong or a flight to cancel or I don't know. Anything can happen and will happen on show days. So I woke up at about 8:30. I had 6 messages from PCO who was trying to figure out what was going on because his flight had been canceled, and he had not got any notification of that, nor did I. So it was damage control at that point, trying to figure out what was going on. I called him. He did end up getting on a flight because he was flying out of Montreal. It was supposed to be a straight shot to Boston. He ended up going from Montreal to LaGuardia Airport, which is not very far.
Oh, yes.
And he was chilling there, and his flight got rerouted, and then the one that they put him on to get back to Boston was canceled. So he was just chilling, and he had no idea what to do. So I called the airline. They rebooked a flight for him. They sent me the flight, and they had booked him out from a different airport. So I had to call back and say, "Hey guys, he's at LaGuardia still. He did not move." So luckily, American Airlines, it sucked at first, but they were able to fix our problem pretty quick and as best as they could. And then I had a driver back out, which I have some guys flying to Boston, some guys flying to Portland, and the reason for that is when you're like I had a few guys I was splitting with numerous promotions, and it's a lot easier to get them to Boston, have a shuttle to take them to the airport the next morning, or if they were staying in the area another day for another show locally, it would be much easier. So that's a central airport that we kind of bring guys in and out of, and we had just had a driver back out. So luckily I didn't have Angela that day, who's usually my Lord and Savior of the Boston area, but Michelle was able to help me a ton. And then I have Molly and Jason locally who always help me out a ton. So they're the best because they save my ass because I can't be driving everywhere, picking everybody up all day. But yeah, so that was the first cool thing. The second cool thing is I get a call because I was planning on the ring being there at 12:30, which is what I was told. We rented from a different outfit this time, not the Scufflin' Hillbilly Larry Huntley. So I'm always skeptical. So I was hoping they were going to be there at 12:30, and I let the building know because they were going to beat me there. And they're like, it's not looking good. We'll probably be there at 2:30. I'm like, all right, that's doable. But I'm sweating already because I like to have that ring up and set
Right.
by 2 o'clock, because
Right.
I've seen so many times like a ring will show up and doofus here forgot a ring post, or if it's not me bringing the ring, I don't trust it. I just have a problem doing that. So I was sweating a little bit, and then 2:30 rolls around, so I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll get back in touch with them and see where they are. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to be there till 5:30. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, we have to open doors at 6:30, guys. So
Yeah.
I'm rip shit at that point. I have to walk away because I knew I'm an
Well,
asshole
see,
already on show
we
days,
gotta
and
say
I knew
there was
better.
a lot of traffic that day coming up north
Oh, I
and
know.
southbound.
Traffic was
And
horrible.
southbound there was traffic too, but northbound it was really bad.
Yeah, it was bad. I didn't fault them because they were traveling a long way, but I hit them up the day before. I'm like, yo, we gotta plan for traffic. We gotta plan for this, plan for that,
Hmm.
because I was sweating it already a day before, and then yeah, you got there at 5:15. I think the ring got there like right behind
The
you at
ring got
like
there at
5:20.
pretty much exactly the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were all hands on deck trying to get that ring set up and just trying to get everything moving, because I'm so like particular that I don't want to set up the chairs before we get the ring in there, because I want it to all be centered if possible, and there's just a lot that you can't do without that
And
ring there.
no,
So
there's not. And the thing is, it was so hot in that building. And I think the Limitless Wrestling locker room deserves a big round of applause because that ring went up so quick. And
yeah.
everyone was pitching in. I wore my suit and I was dragging all these pieces of wood and posts, and everyone was just pitching in, and we got that ring up
Oh yeah,
real quick.
I'm a big fan of just everyone who was able to help. Top
Mm-hmm.
shelf Troy Nelson,
No, he was huge.
even Joey
Joey
Eastman,
Eastman, the
like
weasel,
everybody.
the weasel that is
What's that?
the weasel that is Joey Eastman, still helped out.
Yeah, everybody was helping out. So that's just cool to have a good locker room like that. All the Buffalo crew was helping, so we got that up very quickly. But it's still just it's not ideal, because I like to be able to have somebody run the ring and be sure that everything feels right before we roll with it, and be sure that just nothing's out of place. Because I'm not in there, I don't know. So we were able to have a chance to do that, but it was much quicker than we had anticipated. And then on top of that, because of PCO's flight delays throughout the day, because he was supposed to land in Boston at 10:30 in the morning, he did not get to Boston until 3:30, and as we said, traffic was terrible. So he was a little late getting there for the VIP portion, which I felt bad about. But he was at least, he was moving, and he was cool with everything. Horrible travel day. He could have been pissed off, but he was so happy to be there and so happy to see everybody. So he got out there at about 7 o'clock, and just I think people had a really cool time meeting him, because he's such an interesting guy. I don't know if you got the chance to talk to him at all, but very
I
interesting guy.
I am not trying to kill anyone's gimmick or anything, but PCO was the coolest dude I think I've ever met in indie wrestling.
He's just such a he's got so many stories, and just such cool shit to say. I guess that's a weird way to describe
And
it, but
he was just
he's just
he's got a
cool.
reputation from back in his day and as
Oh
being
yeah.
a legitimate tough guy, and he was just such a nice guy in the locker room. And what impressed me the most, you've seen this a million times, I've seen this a million times, you bring in a big name to a show, they're gone after intermission. They get their match done, sell some more shirts, bounce. That guy pulled up a chair right next to the entrance after intermission and watched the entire rest of the show.
Yeah, and he was, it was pretty cool. And this is another. I'm not trying to kill anything for anybody, but he was right there too to give any advice to anyone who wanted. He was watching the show intently. He was watching everything that went down. So he was just, any promoters listening to this, one of the best guys I've had in a locker room in 3 years. So, just I hope we can set up something with him to get him back, because he's got such a busy schedule right now, but the dude's just working so hard, and he's the coolest dude.
And he was awesome. His match was awesome. So,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was the coolest little fight I've ever seen. Chris Dickinson has these like really unique matches with guys. Like I love Chris Dickinson's work, to be 100% honest, and I knew this would be just such a cool fight. Like it felt like a legitimate fight. I love that. They were just beating the shit out of each
And
other.
in 2018, the year that we've got 205 Live, we've got Pentagon, we've got Ray Phoenix, we got all these people doing flips and Will Ospreay. The best moonsault in wrestling belongs to PCO. So
Oh my god, yeah.
that's that is the coolest thing ever. But yeah, so the show was kind of cursed from the start, and everything got up in time. I bought some time. I went out there and spoke with the lovely fans of Limitless Wrestling, and your father happened to lock me out of the building.
Amazing.
No, it really
You'll be
wasn't.
so happy. Did he know he did it, or did he just do
Yeah,
it
I'm
accidentally?
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he knew that he did it, because I was banging on the door, and he was staring at me as I was banging on the door, and didn't
No, he
do
was probably
anything.
getting a kick out of it.
And all the fans got a kick out of it too. I'll tell you that. It was definitely not ideal, but nonetheless, we were off and running for this show, and you started it with a bang. AR Fox and Josh Briggs. And things got hot and heavy early with these two. Some crazy stuff. The finish to this match was wild and so dangerous. So dangerous. But Josh Briggs hits his finisher off the top rope, and AR Fox pops 6 feet in the air off of it. And Josh Briggs, who was my pick going into the show for the Vacationland Cup, is your winner. What did you make of this opener?
From what I saw, this was insane. I didn't get to see the whole match, but when I'm hearing the crowd lose their mind, every second, I get the idea that it's a pretty good match.
It's a hell of a way to start the show. What was your thought process behind starting it with this?
It's really the same thought process as every show. I think you got to open up with a bang, man. I always think like, what does someone want to see? I feel like the person who's been attending Limitless for 3 years, or 2 years, or has at least seen a bunch of Limitless stuff. I want to pick something that they'll love to see, opening a show, but what someone maybe coming off the street who maybe they've never been to a live show before, maybe this is their first independent show, something they would love to see as well. So it's always something that starts off with a bang or a red hot opener, and this was that. Josh Briggs, AR Fox. These are two guys who every time they get in the ring, you're going to get their best, and you're going to get probably one of the best matches on the card, and I think we saw that here.
No doubt about that. I thought it was a great match and a great way to start the card. The problem with a show like this is you worry about killing the crowd early
Yeah,
because,
you might. I don't.
no, well, my point here being is you have so many great matches that in any pro wrestling show, I don't care who it is, it could be New Japan, it could be WWE, there has to be a moment for the crowd to cool down to some degree. Just because every wrestling match is a roller coaster in its own right.
I
And
understand that.
that now that's not to say that you need like a waste match. That is not what I'm insinuating by any means. But sometimes when you hit them, match after match after match after match, it's just so good they just get so tired because they're so into it. And thankfully that didn't really happen on this card, which I was pretty impressed with. Now, Ashley Vox and Christian Casanova were supposed to go second, but they got moved to third. Why did they get moved?
It was legitimately just a thing of possibly someone being late. So
And there you
those are
go.
the last minute decisions that you have to
Mm-hmm.
plan for, and you have to just adapt with. Not only me as a booker or promoter, but the talent
Mm-hmm.
as wrestlers as well. I knew, early enough if you're going to have to shift something and what you'd want to shift if you have to shift it. So you just talk to everybody and give them, plant that idea in their head. It's tough to, when you're told something originally and you plan for that, it's tough a couple hours in advance or maybe minutes in advance. You have to change something, but that is the nature of the game that we live in. I don't think it hindered this card at all,
Nope.
because no one knows what the order is going to be really, other than the main event. But I want to go back to what you said. I agree that you don't want to burn out your crowd or whatever whatever. But I also think that's just like I think that's a cop out sometimes. That's what a lot of old schoolers say. You don't want to do all this shit to burn out a crowd or whatever whatever they say. They say it
Mm-hmm.
to anyone in the business, really, wrestlers or bookers or shit like that. And you do have to know, like, I think you do have to have a good handle on your particular crowd. Not every crowd is the same. That's very apparent.
Very
I
true.
do think you have to have a good grasp on your crowd, but I also think, if you have a good fucking crowd and you establish that crowd and you build and that crowd trusts you and they trust the show, they're not going to burn out. They're going to love everything if you're presenting them. It's like a buffet. If you're
Mm-hmm.
presenting good food, people are going to eat it, nonstop. But I don't
No,
know.
it's a good point you have. I say it even as a wrestling fan. I know when I'm going to a show that I'm going to expect a match to be thrown in there that is meant to cool the crowd down, but that doesn't mean that they can't get them right back, you know? So,
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
for example, I'll use one of the recent New Japan specials. Juice Robinson and Jay White are thrown out there after these insane matches, and they're just kind of supposed to be a cool down match. And the first 5 to 6 minutes of their match are, definitely a cooler down part. But they got the crowd right back into it with their storytelling, and it ended up just stealing the show and surprising everyone. So even if you design it that way, if the individual talent is so strong, it's not going to matter because they're going to get the crowd right back.
Yeah, and they're going to find ways. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I'm not just trying to put us over, but I think Limitless Wrestling has one of the best locker rooms in the country.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely.
I think these guys, guys and girls can adapt to anything. They can, they just look at the crowd that we have every single time. It's an amazing crowd. I think one of the best crowds in professional wrestling, if not the best. But it's insane because we do have so many different performers, so many different styles, and so many guys on this core roster who understand exactly that. They look at what's been in front of them already, and they can adapt to that. They can change things. They can make these matches different every time, and that's the cool thing about professional wrestling is it's not all going to be the same. It's there's going to be so many different pieces to a roster, so many different pieces to a show, and
Well, what I like,
as you
what I
said,
like about the Limitless locker room is that there's not a single guy or girl in there that I'm the main event. It's all about me.
no,
It's let's go and put on the best damn wrestling show we can.
absolutely,
And you play a part of that in giving these. We're breaking down the fourth wall here, but before every show, seconds before it's about to go live, Randy gets in that locker room and drops so many f bombs that it's impossible not to get amped up about it. And it's just the way to will the locker room and get them ready to go, and it works. It definitely worked. Chris Dickinson even complimented you about that. That's a
I
that's a
know
that's a big statement.
it is.
So instead of that match, we got the MSP triple threat. There was a spot in this match where I think Alexander Lee was on Aiden Agro's shoulders and Danger Kid was on the top rope. And normally with this kind of spot, it would be a power bomb, and you do the Tower of Doom spot, and it's a lot easier. Instead, these crazy human beings, if I can even call them that, they're insane, pull off the most dangerous move I've ever seen in person. Where, while on Agro's shoulders, Alexander Lee manages to put Danger Kid in a vertical suplex. And momentum was not quite enough at first. And Danger Kid starts tilting the other way, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna die. And I don't know if all the fans in the front row started just blowing to try to push him over, but it worked because they pulled it off and everyone lived. They did not hold back in this match. I thought they told a great story, and all three guys shined, I thought, and Danger Kid ends up coming away with the win. What'd you make of it?
I agree totally. I think that this is just, I almost think it's like a coming out party for the three of them because I don't think they've really been presented on such a huge scale as singles guys in quite a long time. Anyone who does know the story of how Danger Kid and Aiden Agro came into Limitless, it was with Alexander Lee. It was in singles action. So it's been a while since, these three have really been separate from the main state posse, whether it's a tag team or a trio. And I think it's cool how it's come full circle. How, we brought in Danger Kid feuding with Alexander Lee, and how Aiden Agro played a part into that. And now, they were a trio that, just hasn't been able to get the job done. And, they had this opportunity to go out on this stage and really present something cool. And I think they did just that. They really showed that all three guys can hang in a singles match type situation. And I'm pretty excited for these fair shows coming up too, because I think they'll be getting some more singles action. I think I want to try that out. But this was a hell of a match. They all left it out there, and Danger Kid coming out victorious.
What's the next step for Joe Eastman?
I don't know, because nothing works. He's tried to be their, I don't know if really their manager or their agent, with obviously not the best of intentions. And then from that, he's just trying to get, not the three of them anymore. He's just trying to, whoever will really take him up on his offers. So I don't think he really gives a shit about any of them, but I don't know. He wants that monetary gain from them, I guess. I'm not sure. So I don't know what the next step is, because this ploy to kind of destroy the main state posse just has not worked for him. It's really brought him closer in the matter of them, not getting wins. It's really brought them closer.
We saw that after the match too, where they both endorsed DK for that main event. Ashley Vox and Christian Casanova, I was on commentary for this one. And based on the placement and how hot the crowd was for the first two matches, I was kind of expecting them to be a little down here. But this is what I was talking about before, where you got two people who just work super hard and they get the crowd. And, Christian Casanova and Stokely Hathaway certainly get the crowd, but I think there were two people to me personally who really stood out on this show, and they were both women. And the first was Ashley Vox. And I saw star in Ashley Vox in this match. I saw star. And I think Limitless reciprocated that to her. And even though Christian Casanova won, using his dastardly ways, this to me, not that I was down on Ashley Vox, because I was super high on her coming into this. To me, this was like, she is a mainstay in Limitless Wrestling going forward. There's no question she should be top tier. I thought she was that damn good.
Yeah, and there was no doubts coming into it that she's going to be a core part of Limitless moving forward. But I'm very impressed with both her and Christian, and not just from this match, but just how their roads to Limitless Wrestling are very interesting. Christian was a guy who I don't think a lot of people know, but Christian was on the first ever Limitless show. He's a day one guy who was there throughout all of year one, and then gone throughout all of year two, because there just wasn't something for him at that time. And he really went out, he reinvented himself. He got into the best shape of his life. He's hitting on all cylinders right now. And Ashley is a girl who I, until November of last year, did not have a real intention of using, or I never really put her in my mind to think, where could we use her. She was just on the outside, really, and was a last minute replacement, similar to the story of Anthony Green at the start of Limitless, who was another guy not even on my radar. And she's come in and just, within that 6 to 7 month span, become one of the most, fans just go nuts, and they ask for her every single show. She's going to be on every single show if she's open. So it's crazy, the reaction and the following that she's gotten Limitless in such a short time. And I think the same about Christian in this match is just, exceptional.
You got to talk about what the Dream Team is doing right now, not just in Limitless, but across the spectrum, but especially in Limitless. Stokely Hathaway's built himself quite the team there, hasn't he?
He has. Stoke is just good at what he does. And he surrounds himself with the best. And that's obviously, not only in Limitless, but in Beyond Wrestling and Evolve Wrestling. Anywhere he really goes, there's success there. So Stoke has done a great job, and the guys that he's around have done a great job as well.
JT Dunn and David Starr. The next day after this, David Starr would basically die in his match against Joey Janela in CZW. Did you see that?
That was at Beyond Wrestling on Sunday, but he had quite a busy weekend because I believe on Saturday, I think he wrestled twice because I think he wrestled for Chikara and then for CZW, and then on Sunday he wrestles in the no rope barbed wire death match against Joey Janela.
So it was
That,
it was 2 days later then. Okay, so it was 2 days later.
and it makes me cringe.
It was crazy. He was so bloody. I, like you said, cringed. But
Yep.
he was not happy after the conclusion of his match with JT Dunn. Two guys who have a history together. Would have thought maybe a little more mutual respect. But things got a little testy after this one.
Yeah, I think you could see the tensions kind of boiling over throughout the match. I do think there is that mutual respect there, but I also think, after, David Starr, who's really been the king of tournaments throughout the past couple of years, winning and competing in a lot of big tournaments around the country, really around the globe, I think the frustrations just boiled over there.
JT Dunn ends up picking up the win here, but he did get hurt. He was beat up pretty bad. I saw him in the locker room, too. He was definitely feeling the effects of this match.
Yeah, and JT Dunn is one of those guys who really runs himself ragged, too, with a busy schedule, a busy training regimen. So, he was feeling it. And there's been a lot of times in the Limitless locker room where, it's been quite apparent that he's feeling it, but he always pushes through. And obviously, as the night will show, is always pretty successful.
PCO and Chris Dickinson before intermission. I don't know how you could watch this match and not just be so relentlessly entertained from start to finish.
I agree, and I think a lot of people came in not really knowing what to expect from PCO. I think it was kind of half and half, where I think some people knew exactly what they were going to get, and some people were very surprised that PCO was on a Limitless show because they didn't know, So it was cool to kind of see that level of surprise in people when they watch PCO wrestle, because people realize this is an older man. This guy is not a spring chicken like some guys in this locker room. He's 51 years of age, and he's doing these topes and these moonsaults like nobody's business. So this was crazy. This is a must watch Limitless match.
Are you going to release this on YouTube? I really hope you do.
Maybe at some point.
I really hope you do. The world deserves to see this match.
I don't disagree.
The world deserves to see it. He's a spectacle, man. And wrestling is all about attractions, and PCO's right now is the definition of an attraction. And
yes.
In a good way. And you could see, even though he was getting the crap beat out of him, Chris Dickinson was loving every minute of it.
Oh, for sure. Dude, Chris Dickinson lives for fights like that.
And
let's talk about what he did after
that's
the
what
match.
I wanted
Did you hear that, though?
I wanted to tee it up. Now, we remember back in March, after his match with Brian Cage, they said they deserved to do it again. And Brian Cage was rather non-committal about it. But he calls him out at the end of this match after picking up the win. He calls out Brian Cage again. Wants to settle the score. And it didn't take long for word to travel, did it?
No, Brian Cage was on Twitter that night accepting that challenge. So that is official for anyone who doesn't know. Brian Cage will be having the rematch against Chris Dickinson at Pretenders Beware on September 21st. So,
and if you just want to see
I'm very excited.
Two man-meat human beings slug it out while doing some of the most
words wisely.
While using some of the most athletic things you're ever going to see. I didn't word any of that well, but that's okay. It's going to be awesome.
It's all good.
It was awesome in March.
Yes.
It'll be
Everybody
awesome
knows. Dude, if you haven't seen it, go to limitlesswrestling.com. Grab that Only Fools Are Satisfied DVD. You want to see that match. They've wrestled before in PWG and Beyond Wrestling, and now for the second time, it'll be in Limitless Wrestling. So very excited for that one.
Intermission hit. We came back with Jordan Grace and Alley Cat. I didn't get a chance to see this match, unfortunately, because I was busy talking up Nico Silva. But what did you think of this one?
I loved it, and I think the crowd did too. Everyone was always excited to see Jordan Grace and Alley Cat in the Limitless Wrestling ring again. Those are two people who are always heavily requested to bring on Limitless shows. So I heard great reviews of their match that they had a couple months prior in Nova Pro in Virginia. So I was stoked to be able to bring that match up here. Alley Cat getting the win via the Pussy Pile Driver, which is one of the most devastating moves in professional wrestling today.
Absolutely. Then came the six-way. Kevin Blackwood defeats Jay Freddy, Harlow O'Hara, Nico Silva, Austin Theory, and Eli Everfly. Now, I mentioned to you before there were two people who I really felt stood out on this show. The first was Ashley Vox, and I think Harlow O'Hara absolutely tore the house down here. What did you make of her Limitless debut?
I think it was spectacular. I think this match in general was spectacular, and I honestly think this is one of the best matches in Limitless history. I honestly want to say that because I watched the whole thing start to finish. It was so much fun. I think this is the best scramble we've ever had, period. I think the scrambles just keep getting better and better because each scramble before it really raises the bar. So, just incredible stuff. Harlow O'Hara, I do agree, man. She commands a crowd. She's such a different personality in professional wrestling, and she can fucking go with anybody. Austin Theory, Eli Everfly, that is a singles match that I want to see someday because, Jesus, these dudes just fly around the ring like nobody's business. Jay Freddy out there with Puff Bearer. I don't know if you saw him out there.
Yeah, I saw him out there. Yeah, I believe I did.
Puff Bearer will be on the Hollis Pirate Festival, by the way. So maybe you should swing in and see him. Maybe get a PBR from him.
Stokely Hathaway and I agreed that we had never seen anything like that happen before. And
yeah, man, Puff Bearer is a real thing. So be on the lookout.
What'd you think what'd you think of Nico Silva?
Dude, Nico, what a way to debut. I think these scrambles, I say it every time, man. These are such a way to break into Limitless Wrestling. As you can see, Kevin Blackwood in his second one, getting what I think a lot of people think was an upset victory because it was just bang, bang. But, man, Kevin busts his ass. He's, one of those Buffalo Crew guys who's just doing amazing things. And that win's definitely going to solidify him a big match coming up in Limitless Wrestling, so you can look for that. But, man, just what a match. Seriously. Nico Silva, again, to roundabout back to it, just a great debut. He's a local guy who's just starting to break out from the Rhode Island area. So I'm very happy to give him that platform, and I definitely think he'll be on Limitless shows in the future.
Nico Silva bled all over me.
Oh, yeah?
Nico Silva, very legitimately, and I don't know if anyone could see it, within the first minute and a half of the match, got popped in the nose. And,
yeah, I did.
And I went to check on him, and the whole front of my shirt got bloody, just checking on him. He got popped pretty hard. And yeah. I'd like to think that may have hurt his chances at winning here. I biasedly agree with you that this was the best six-man in Limitless history. I think what this six-way had that maybe the others haven't, and this is not a knock on the other six-ways, but I thought that this had a multitude of stories going on in it. And when you can take a match like this that's designed for high spots, which there were certainly no shortage of those, and combine a lot of different stories with it, you've got a match made in heaven.
For sure. And I think that these scrambles they just always come together so well. It's crazy.
What did you think of the death of the Emmy Award-winning John Alba?
I think the fans were ecstatic, obviously, by their singing and jokes, but it was just I think it was a cool way to close that chapter, man. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of cool shit, and I'll say it to anyone. You were a big part in us really, getting out there in the Orono Central Maine area when you helped us on
I appreciate
on the station anytime. That was a huge help in early Limitless, and we don't get that Central Maine attention without that help. So I always appreciate that. I'm always glad to have you.
I appreciate that. I think that added a really fun element too, because every near fall, man, that could have been it. every single
Yeah,
one. So
absolutely.
it all, I think, told a really great story, that match. And how about Nico Silva? He's got the most Brock Lesnar shooting star press I've ever seen.
Dude, very, very close to it.
He gets so much air and covers so much ground. It was nuts. And even though he lost, I was supremely impressed by everyone in this match. Really, I really
Me too.
was. I think Eli Everfly's a star, man. He is so unique. God,
I
everyone was
agree.
awesome.
That's the word I use to describe him too. Is just unique, man. He's so much different than anybody else you're going to see on a show, and I love that about
Nice
somebody.
to see a solo Jay Freddy here too.
Dude, it's been a while. It has
Mm-hmm.
been a long time.
It has. He looked great, and as I mentioned, Harlow O'Hara kept saying to me, she's like, "Do you think they liked me out there?" I'm like, "Did you take one listen?"
Yeah, for real.
And she had signs
She's one
too.
of the she encapsulates the crowd, dude. It's so cool to see because she's just again just like an Eli Everfly, so much different than anybody else you're going to see on any card.
No doubt about it. It was a blast. I would not have wanted to go out any other way. And yes, the Emmy Award winning John Alba said at the end that he would see everyone in hell. And all I can say is you better hope you don't end up locked down there with him, because that's not going to be a pleasant experience for anyone.
No,
So,
absolutely not.
certainly not. And it was great. I hope we get to see this match released too, because, like I said,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
world deserves to see that match. Whiskey Dick versus Free to Think. So the last time we saw Whiskey Dick, I was staring straight up at the lights. And Troy Nelson, for those who didn't really know, hadn't really wrestled in about 3 months. Kind of took a little
Yeah,
bit of a
he was
hiatus.
raring to go.
So he was excited, and Free to Think's kind of been in and has been pedaled to the metal and Limitless, and I think Whiskey Dick wanted to prove that they're a little more than just hijinks.
Yeah,
And
and I think they did that.
yeah, yeah, I think they did too. This has got to be one of Troy Nelson's first losses in a long time, huh?
This is actually, and believe it or not, this was Troy Nelson's first loss since year one of Limitless. He had not lost his first victory on this streak was at the 1 year anniversary show when he defeated Scott Wilde, and then he had not lost since then. And that's crazy when you sit back and think about it. That's crazy. That's nearly 2 years of being undefeated.
Somehow, some way, miracles happen. They do. But Free to Think, man, they're legit now, as far as I'm concerned. They are legitimate mainstay talent in Limitless Wrestling.
Oh, I agree with you because they've come in and they've literally defeated the only two undefeated tag teams that we have in Limitless Wrestling. So that's crazy.
What might
And
we
that's
see?
they've
What
really made this opportunity for themselves too, which is I really think that they resonate with that a lot. But it's pretty cool to see. This tag team bursting on the scene, really kind of shaking things up in the tag team division in Limitless.
I'm just gonna say, I wouldn't be upset about Free to Think versus the Mainstay Posse. Just
I
throwing
don't
it
think
out
that's a
there.
bad idea.
Just throwing it out there. I don't know if you figured out what the Mainstay Posse is going to do at that anniversary show, but that's one that I would like to see. If not at the anniversary show, some point down the line, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
The Vacationland Cup Finals. JT Dunn versus Josh Briggs versus Christian Casanova versus the Danger Kid. I know from talking to them that this was, and it may not have been evident to the crowd, but this was one of the most physically taxing matches in Limitless Wrestling history. Because these guys were tired from working earlier, and they had to go out there and outlast one another. And I know that JT Dunn and Josh Briggs were both hurting real bad after this match.
Yeah, no doubt. And that is the price of some of these tournaments where these guys are sometimes wrestling, 2-3 times a show. There's, the chance for injury really grows when you're getting worn out and you're getting tired. And obviously, as we saw, JT and Briggs were both, extremely beat up after this match. And I'm not taking anything away from Danger Kid or Casanova either. I'm sure they were spent as well, but it was very evident that they were just toast. But what a match! It just the first ever Vacationland Cup. I think we just had a big fight feel for this match because I really think anyone could have took this home, and I think everybody believed that.
I was a little surprised by the crowd's reaction to JT Dunn winning. I think
You were surprised at that?
I think the crowd, I don't know. I think that the crowd appreciates JT Dunn for who he is and what he's contributed. But I think that crowd really wanted Josh Briggs to win that title, to win that Vacationland Cup.
I don't disagree.
And I think they were a little disappointed he didn't. And that's okay.
I don't disagree with you, man. I don't. I mean, I think that everybody in that match had their supporters.
And that's okay. But I was kind of expecting if Dunn were to win, as he was, keep in mind, number one in the Emmy Award-winning Power Rankings. If he were to win, I was expecting a little more fan support for him. But maybe there's something going on here with JT Dunn. I don't know.
I feel where you're coming from, man. I think also people were surprised because I don't think anybody really expected Josh Briggs, if he was to make it to the final two, to lose.
No, but he was spent, man. He was physically spent, and you can't blame him for that. He went through war with.
He's trying to outlast.
Well, he went through a war with AR
Fox. In the business.
Exactly.
Outlast him.
Went through a war with him, and then had to go against these guys.
Yeah, so. That's no easy task. And he, look at it too. He pinned both Danger Kid and Casanova to eliminate them.
He picked up 3 pinfalls rather, in one night, which is pretty damn impressive. So, JT
Dunn, who won it.
But so JT Dunn is your inaugural Vacationland Cup champion. How does that make you feel as the owner of Limitless?
I mean, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of everything that he's done with Limitless. He's done a lot for this company. He's had a lot of the, really major moments in Limitless and major matches. I mean, I always point at that Cody Rhodes match. That was a game changer for Limitless, and I think it was a game changer for him in Limitless as well. And he had such a hot streak last year, and this year was off to a rocky start with wins and losses. But man, has he ever turned it around? And now he's got a big challenge for him in the main event.
And then we had an intermission. The cage was brought out. And one of the most unique moments in the history of not just Limitless Wrestling, but probably independent professional wrestling. I told you in the beginning of this show that something funny was in the air. And I want you to take us through this, because as a promoter, I can only imagine what is going through your head. I'm in the back. It's only me, JT Dunn, and Nico Silva in the locker room as this Ace Romero and Anthony Green match starts. And I took a peek, and I noticed that the cage door was diagonal. And I went back to the guys, I said, I think something's going wrong here. So I'm no architect and I'm no pro wrestler, but I think something's gone wrong.
Yeah, you weren't wrong.
Take us through what happened.
Yeah, so when the steel cage, and I'm not gonna mention any names because it's not. I don't want to bring anybody down or anything, but we rented the cage in the ring from the same organization, and
steel cages are us.
Yeah, steel cages are us. Yeah, that's the one. And I've seen this, both the ring and the cage. I've seen them myself set up and used before. I had asked some of the wrestlers on the show to get an idea of what we were getting into, about everything to do with the cage and the ring. All of them put it over, said it was fine. And it probably was fine. It just was not set up correctly. They did not send the correct group of people to set this up, obviously. And, when Rich gets the go ahead, he's going. And that's, that's pretty much that. So we were under the impression, myself, Rich Palladino, Ethan, sound guy, we were under the impression that we were good to go and we were all set because Rich had gotten the go ahead. So we went ahead and obviously nothing was connected correctly and it was, terribly done and, could have put a lot of people in danger, to be 100% honest. But as you said, I don't even know what was going through my head. I was trying to just, again, damage control. What the fuck are you going to do? Luckily, as I said, we've got the best fans in the fucking world, and the fans literally get out of their seats and come hold this cage up for this match. And
you will, and you have
insane.
never seen anything like this before.
No.
I hope this makes something like Botchamania so the entire world gets to see how freaking awesome Limitless Wrestling fans are.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be on Botchamania.
And I hope it
no
is.
doubts.
I hope it is, because I want everyone in the world to see how awesome those fans are. It was
I
one
do
of
too,
the
honestly.
coolest sights ever. Ever. And I've never seen anything like it before in pro wrestling, and you probably never will again.
No, I don't know where that
Hopefully,
ever happens like that.
first off, hopefully not. but
Yeah.
but this was a sight to be seen. And
Absolutely.
then, credit to the talent, Ace Romero and Anthony Green go out there, work with the elements, and have a great main event.
They do, and that's a big shout out to how just good they are as professionals because again, we have a roster that can adapt to really any situation, and that's, I don't know if you can get much better proof than that.
I and man, what a just and for anyone who thinks like, oh, this is part, none of this was part of the show. This is
No,
this is
this
as
is something
real.
this is something going wrong. This is proving that we're all human and shit can go wrong at any time in any place. And this is one of those unfortunate situations where shit did go wrong. But
But it made for
I
a moment
think
that you're never going to forget.
absolutely it's pretty. I took a second and it was pretty euphoric to just kind of stand there and look around at everybody just not giving a fuck that shit's going wrong. That's pretty cool because we can't hit on all cylinders all the time.
And I don't think they cared.
No,
Because
I think some people did. I think some people were like, "Fuck this," and they fucking. But I think a majority of people were cool with it.
the people who
They
were there
understood.
for the right reasons,
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
didn't care.
Yeah,
Ace Romero finally gets his win over Anthony Green. So, what's next?
I think probably another match that can be touted as the biggest in Limitless Wrestling history. We got two guys who really have given their all to Limitless Wrestling. Ace Romero from the very start, JT Dunn since May of 2016, both since year one, have really dedicated a lot of time in their life, a lot of matches, a lot of bumps and bruises, blood, sweat, and tears to Limitless Wrestling. And it's really a battle of two guys who think that they've built this from the ground up. So, really two guys who are going to leave it all out there, Ace Romero and JT Dunn. And that is your main event at Pretenders Beware on September 21st. And I don't know about you, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
I would agree with that, and I think you'd be stupid not to be looking forward to it. This is the anniversary show, the 3-year anniversary show for Limitless Wrestling. You hear that? What goes through your head?
It's just pretty crazy. It does not feel like 3 years ago. I can remember planning out and having that first show like yesterday. So, And I remember, there's those pivotal moments where it was, the decision to move from Orono to Westbrook, and booking Cody Rhodes and booking that whole show to be, just a major step forward. And I don't know, it's pretty crazy when you sit back and look at it. 3 years, it just does not seem like it's been that long.
How does it make you feel when you see a guy who was on your shows like Keith Lee, who is about to make his NXT television debut? And I don't know if you know what his moniker is, right?
I do.
Limitless.
Yeah.
That's got to be a cool feeling.
Yeah, I mean, he had that.
Obviously, he's
He's
a
had
well.
that for a
I
while, but
understand that. I understand that. I know he's had that for a while. But I'm just pointing out the, I don't want to say irony, but the coincidence in that. And not that Keith Lee is a Limitless Wrestling made talent, but he's gone through your ring, he's gone through your doors, he's put on a hell of a show. And you see guys like him, like Dijak, people making it. It's got to be pretty awesome feeling here 3 years after and seeing the names that have
yeah.
gone through and quote unquote making it.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I look at guys like Dijak's a good one, because Dijak was really a big part of year one and into year two of Limitless Wrestling. He was on a lot of Limitless shows. He did a lot of cool shit with us. So that's a very cool one to see. And then it's guys like, Keith Lee or Ricochet or Matt Seidel or,
Deanna Parazzo.
Deanna, Hansen, Tommaso, all these guys and girls who are just doing, living their best lives in this business, which is amazing to see. They're making a living off of this. They're action figures coming out of these people. Like, it's insane. And it's so cool to see. And I can't wait to see how many more of the Limitless Wrestling talent makes it to the big time.
The Emmy Award winning action figure would have been a good one. But I
Hey,
will
man, it's
say
never
this.
too late.
Let me say this. I can't properly articulate how it felt to be on a trading card. As a kid who grew up collecting baseball cards, I had a ton of them. Seeing myself on a trading card that I didn't have to pay to be on. That was a pretty amazing feeling. And
Those came out so good,
I've
man.
got to give a shout out to one of the fans who I didn't get a chance to get my hands on a copy of the trading cards. They had an extra pack and they said, "Here, I want to give you your card." That was
That's awesome.
pretty awesome. And I have it at my desk at work right now.
That's very cool.
It's
Yeah, they can shout out to Todd for getting those together for us. But yeah, man, I'm so that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do for merchandise, because I too was a kid who grew up collecting, whether they were baseball, wrestling, or football cards. I'd buy a pack, nearly every couple days. So I thought that was the coolest thing, and we are getting a restock in, and they will be available online this time. So if you're looking to buy packs of cards, stay tuned for a couple weeks, because we'll have them on the website.
That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Anything else you want to add here, Randy?
Nothing really, man. I just want to thank everybody again for just coming out and supporting us through, thick and thin. Anything that goes wrong, yeah, you guys are always understanding and always there. And you guys showed out, man. Such a crowd at the Vacationland Cup. I think the loudest crowd we've ever had for an event. So I hope to see everybody back September 21st. Tickets, as of this recording, they'll be on sale now when this drops on limitlesswrestling.com. I don't know how many are gone yet, but hell of a show coming up. JT Dunn versus Ace Romero, Brian Cage versus Chris Dickinson, plus Colt Cabana, plus Sami Callihan, and much more. Limitlesswrestling.com for more information. Facebook.com/limitlesswrestling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this podcast. We're gonna have a pretty cool one coming out next week that I haven't even talked to John about, but it's a pretty good idea. I think you'll dig it, John.
I'm sure I will, and I want to also, one last time, extend a very sincere thank you. I've worked in several promotions, and as I wrap up this chapter of my life, I can very firmly say that the Limitless Wrestling fans are the best, and were so awesome to me. And by awesome to me, that it also includes when you cursed me out. I appreciated it. So thank you for being just awesome fans, and I think Randy would testify that I really poured my heart and soul into every single segment that we did, and probably to the point that it annoyed the shit out of Randy, but it it was something I absolutely had a blast doing. And even though this may be the end of this chapter for me with Limitless, I'm excited to keep doing the podcast, and we'll see what comes of it. And we will be back here next week, and it will be a fun one. I'm looking forward to hearing what Randy's got to say. So make sure you share the podcast, subscribe on iTunes, check out all our friends, and we'll see you next time.